part of it is just being visible and being out in the world. Is really, really an important thing. Whether that, and even if that's something that's so hokey as dancing on television, I know it's so crazy, but you know. And one of the other things we have to do is we have to really stick together from on the transgender community side, because one of the things that happened to any small minority group of any type is horizontal violence. In other words, we eat our young. We attack each other. One of the problems in the trans women community for the longest time is everybody wanted to be queen tranny, and you know. I'm sorry, I use that terrible offensive word among friends. But everybody wanted to be, you know, the diva, and you know, whenever anytime anybody looked like they were speaking up, everybody else said, "Well, who is she?" You know, to say anything. And then the guys came along, and then it became, why is everybody listening to the guys and never to us? And then they're all like, well, anyway, we all and now you know, people spend time. I go on the internet and I see that a lot of the discussion in the transgender community is over who's an Uncle Tom and who's, you know, are the GLBs bad for us, or are they good for us, and, you know, blah, 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 and, you know, they're trying to kill us, or they're trying to save us, or, you know, we can have these discussions, but, you know, I've never met a group of people who are more, in some ways, introspective and self-analytical than transgender people in terms of our identities. Maybe it's because we grow up and we're in our heads so much. But I remember back in the dark ages when people used to communicate by AOL. They would have these discussion forums. And you know, you'd look at a thread, and you know, the lesbians would say, "I'm having a great day. Just wanted to let you know." And then you look on the trans forum, and it'd be, "My analysis of the day, part 1 of 3." And it's like, because it wouldn't fit enough. And so, and then there's this, you know, all this, you know, introspective thing. What does it mean to be? You know, this existential crisis. You know, epistemological discussions, and it's like, it's something that is. I'm getting a lot of laughter, so I think that some people here, and I'm getting some nods, people who know what I'm talking about. And those things are really important in some ways, but you know, sometimes we have to move past it. You know, the problem is I realized that if I tried to figure all this out, I would go crazy. And so at some point I just decided that I had to live, and to live my life. And you know, because I grew up, my mother always wanted to know how I turned out this way. What was it? Did she do something? Was it a cause? You know, and honestly, I don't care how I got to be who I am. I care, how do I live my life being myself with integrity? And so I don't mean to say, here I am giving this message, anti-intellectual message to a bunch of academics. But, you know, the truth is that we have spent a lot of our time, our individual lives, our time as a community, trying to figure out all this stuff. And trying to figure out who we are, where we fit in the world, all these other things. And those things are all good and they're all important. But I think that living our lives to the fullest with integrity and being ourselves is really what we're called to do. And for me, one of the things that was hard was I grew up my entire life, all I wanted was surgery. And then 20 years ago, I had surgery, and then it's like, well, what now? You know, it's like, live happily ever after. Well, I have no idea what happily ever after looks like. I spent so much of my time and energy focused on this one thing. And, you know, the truth is that I could never have imagined where I'd be right now back then. And how wonderful it could be, even with the cold and sniffling and sneezing. So I'm always trying to give people hope. There's a lot, we still have so far to go as a community, as a world. We have so many things we have to solve. So many discriminatory things, so many stupid things. No, we're fighting the same battles people were fighting 30, 40 years ago. I don't know how they came back. The things that we all thought that were resolved back when we were kids are now all suddenly becoming campaign issues this time around. And so sometimes it may feel like we're fighting back. And those things, it's not that those things aren't important. They are important. But, you know, you could drive yourself crazy just focusing on the problems with the world. And at some point, you also have to take some time out to enjoy it. I remember my ex, who I talk about a lot. I talk about my ex more than my wife. But she was one of these real sex positive people back when we were together, and she was one of these people who was, you know, she did sex education and safe sex for lesbian workshops and liked to demonstrate these things and stuff like that. But a lot of us back then were saying, you know, we shouldn't spend so much time being activists that we don't stop to actually stop and be lesbians. And so, you know, the thing I would like to leave you with from this discussion is, despite all this other stuff that we're talking about here, and all the things, changes we need to do, don't forget to spend some time just being yourselves, just moving past all the problems we face and all the things. It'll be there tomorrow. Trust me. You know. And I have ideas for strategies on how to deal with all these things. I could talk about that a lot, and I'm sure that you hear all about this stuff in all these workshops. And you can all strategize and talk about things and compile your data and compare it and things like that. But just take some time out to enjoy being here now. We're in a wonderful, for all the things that are wrong, we're still in a wonderful time. And I at least am glad for where I am, and I think that you can be too. And so I just want to leave you with that hopeful message. And I am, by the way, going to be here for a few more hours, and I'm happy to answer any questions that people have. If you don't mind the fact I'll probably sneeze during my answers, but was there anything else before you guys go? Is there any time for any questions?
Oh yeah. No, we have to start.
So anybody?
Next thing doesn't start till